have you with us on this Monday edition. Ed Schultz News and Commentary from the North Country. I'm sitting on my back porch. Now, this is my back porch right here. This is where I spend a lot of time just sitting and thinking and grilling and looking at the lake. Pretty nice scene, isn't it? All right, that's where I spend, when I'm home, that's where I am. I'm in the chair. All right, and I'm listening to the radio over the weekend. And yesterday I'm listening to a local news and information station that carries the CBS network. And I've always thought the CBS radio network is very good. I think they got, good writing, excellent actualities. It moves, keeps me interested. And they just skim across the fact that Bernie Sanders now leads Hillary Clinton in both Iowa and New Hampshire. It was almost as if the radio anchor couldn't get it out fast enough and get away from it fast enough. And I just started laughing. Because if this was the story 6 months ago, no one would have believed it. No one. We have moved so far in this political season about where people are and what they're concerned about and how they feel about the country. And the mainstream media, the corporate media, has totally missed it. Now, another poll out showing that, oh, by the way, in that CBS News poll, it does show Hillary Clinton leading Bernie Sanders double digits in South Carolina. But the first caucus state, the first primary state, Bernie's up by double digits. No one would have ever thought it. So why is that happening? We'll get to that in a moment. The other poll that's out is ABC News, Washington Post, showing the complete dissatisfaction that the American people have with the political process. Bernie Sanders is not the political process. And it's the issues that he is promoting that is really drawing people to him. Like, they're wondering, can this really happen? Can we really break up the big banks? I'm for it. Can we really make sure that corporations pay their fair share? I'm for it. Can we really end oil subsidies? I'm for it. Citizens United, I don't like that either. Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, yeah, let's strengthen it. Keystone, I know where we stand on that. The worst trade agreement, TPP, college education for all. It's all works. I mean, all of these things that Bernie is talking about poll in the majority. And Hillary can't explain her position on half of those things. Big banks, she doesn't want to break them up. She's a Wall Streeter. End oil subsidies, she's never talked about that. Pay fair share taxes. Have you ever heard Hillary Clinton talk about these corporations that park their money offshore? Citizens United, okay, she's slowly warming up to changing that. Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, that's a hands-down given for any progressive, okay? Keystone, we know her answer on that. TPP, we know her answer on that. Very evasive. So this is Bernie Sanders on Meet the Press yesterday talking about why, cut 3 on the big list, why this is all happening.
When you talk about the most important, difficult issues, how we make public colleges and universities tuition-free, how we expand Social Security, the Republicans are not supportive of that. The only way that real change takes place, and what we're doing in this campaign, is bringing millions of people together to stand up and say enough is enough. Our government has got to represent all of our people, not just wealthy campaign donors.
Yeah, and listen to the anchor there say, yeah. Bottom line here is no one in the corporate media wants to see the big banks broken up because they spend hordes of money on advertising. Citizens United, well, that's, what the heck? They spend hordes of money in the media when it comes to special interest groups. Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, well, they can't support that because that would piss off the Republicans because all they want to do is privatize everything. Got to give big oil Keystone, and this trade agreement is a Wall Street deal. Everything Bernie stands for does not correlate with what life is like on Wall Street or in the corporate media. And so I think that the American people are catching on to this in a big, big way. Now, Hillary still owns Bernie nationally by double digits, but she's fading, and that's in the story as well. The other issue that comes up is that, listen to Bernie Sanders talk about why he's gaining ground on Hillary Clinton.
I think the issues, Chuck, that we are talking about, the collapse of the American middle class, massive income and wealth inequality, why we are the only major country on earth that doesn't guarantee health care to all people or family or medical leave, why millions of families are finding it so hard to send their kids to college or have decent child care. These are the issues that are resonating with the American people. And the American people, in my strong view, are sick and tired of establishment politics, of establishment economics. And they want a candidate who is prepared to stand up to the big money interest, Wall Street, corporate America, that exerts so much power over our legislative life in Washington.
Now, last week on this production, I talked about how Hillary Clinton made a joke about how she can't wait to debate Donald Trump. That debate may never happen. Let me reiterate that. She has to get past Bernie Sanders first. Bernie Sanders is going to say exactly what he just said in the debates. And how is Hillary going to respond? Is Hillary going to say, well, I don't think we should break up the big banks? Well, I don't think we should end oil subsidies. She going to mealy-mouth again about TPP, mealy-mouth again about the Keystone? How strong is she going to be on Citizens United? And is Hillary in a debate going to say, yes, I think General Electric should actually pay some tax and money shouldn't be parked offshore? And this is so unique for the Democrats. Bernie Sanders is doing the Democratic Party a huge favor by sticking to his guns, being real, being authentic, and not being diverted. The guy hasn't said one negative word about Hillary. He hasn't run one negative ad in his entire life. He hasn't even run a TV ad yet. And he's gaining. It is a political phenomenon. So yesterday on Meet the Press, or not on Face the Nation, the political guru for CBS News, he's almost dumbfounded by, well, Bernie is doing this and Bernie is doing that, and this is what's happening. The same thing is happening over on the Republican side with Trump and Ben Carson that's happening with Clinton and Sanders over on the Democratic side. There is an element of rejection that's taking place right now that is in the realm of fascination. I can't get enough of it. Let's go to John Nicholls, Washington correspondent of The Nation magazine. John, good to have you with us.
Great to be with you, Ed.
How do you explain Bernie's surge in Iowa? He hasn't been there any more than anybody else. Okay, he's worked it hard. He's gotten the biggest crowds. Is it the issues? Does he really, more than people want to give him credit for, have the finger on the pulse of the people?
Yes. It's nothing but the issues, Ed. I mean, you know Bernie Sanders. You've had him on your show and talked to him, on the record, off the record. Same with me. We've been around the guy for years. And the truth of the matter is that Bernie Sanders is not a glad-hander. I think he's getting better at it, but he certainly didn't start that way. He's not a glib, soundbite politician. He doesn't dress perfectly. He doesn't even comb his hair perfectly. I mean, almost all the measures that people would look for on what might connect aren't there. He doesn't rip into other folks. He doesn't deal in personalities. You got to shed everything else that most of our pundits, most of our politics focuses on, and what you're left with is a set of issues. But it's more than just issues, Ed. It isn't just, being able to run down a list of positions and particularly good positions on issues. It's the emphasis. This emphasis on economic inequality, wage stagnation, trade, all of these issues that almost never get talked about in our national media or our national politics.
When is Hillary Clinton going to walk the picket line with somebody? Seriously. I mean, there's no political downside if this is who you are and this is what you believe in. When was the last time Hillary Clinton walked the picket line?
Well, let's run down the list. When was the last time any national political figure, I mean, there's a handful, I'll give you, but somebody running for president jumped on a picket line. And yet, when Bernie Sanders did it in Iowa right before Labor Day, it's a very interesting thing. It wasn't the moment on the picket line. It was when he showed up. He got out of his car. He was with his aide, Phil Fermonti. And it wasn't like he walked up and said, what are we doing here, or how do I do this, or something like that, he jumps out, grabs the picket line, gets on the march, and starts chanting, hey, hey, ho, ho, Union Busters gotta go. He knew the drill.
He knew the drill.
That's who he is.
There's no question about it. All right, John Nicholls, stay with us. When we come back, the demise of Scott Walker. It's pretty obvious the American people are figuring out what a phony this guy is. That's next. Stay with us. Hey, folks, you've heard me talk about BioGreen Clean. I'm going to show you right now on my airplane just how tough this is. I want you to keep in mind, chemical-free, 100% plant-derived, biodegradable. It is the safest cleaner that you can get, and it's the most effective. Go to our website, wegoted.com, or go to biogreenclean.com. www.biogreenclean and order today. It's time to continue our conversation about mechanical insulation. Mechanical insulation is for the piping systems in our nation's commercial and industrial facilities. Facility owners are burning up billions of dollars through the lack of mechanical insulation on these piping systems. Call the iSave team. Insulation saves America valuable energy, and this team of energy conservation specialists is shovel-ready to save you money. Visit iSaveTeam.org to have a specialist give your plant an energy audit.
We perpetuate a culture of crime all the way from Wall Street right down to the main street in our hometowns. It's worse than it has been since FDR took control of the problem and said we can't count on industry taking care of the American labor. They probably have already engaged into some type of criminal cover-up, and the law prohibits the government from even doing anything about it.
Catch America's lawyer Mike Papantonio on YouTube at youtube.com/GoLeftTV.
Subscribe to the Ed Schultz podcast today. Simply log on to iTunes, search for Ed Schultz, and click the subscribe button to have the show delivered to your preferred listening device daily, free of charge. Rate and review the podcast to tell us how we're doing. More details at wegoted.com.
Communication Workers of America, Alliance for American Manufacturing, BioGreen Clean, and the iSave team bring you Ed Schultz news and commentary. One other thing about Bernie Sanders that I want to point out is that these issues have been bubbling for a long time, but I think voter apathy has set in because there was nobody going after anybody on Wall Street. The corporations were getting away with the way they were handling their taxes. The attack to privatize everything, no decision on Keystone, TPP were getting rolled. All of these things, a lot of people just kind of said, to hell with it. And so it's voter apathy that I think Bernie Sanders is now sounding the alarm about and trying to wake people up that these issues can be addressed. Here it is.
And I think we are generating a lot of excitement, not just in Iowa and New Hampshire, but all across this country. And that means larger voter turnouts. Let me tell you this. In my strong view, the Republicans did not win last November. The Democrats lost because a lot of their supporters are demoralized, not coming out to vote. Working people, young people. I think we can strike an excitement in those groups of people, increase voter turnout, not only win the White House, but regain control over the Senate and do well in the House.
Okay, so over on the Republicans, and I think Bernie's spot on. I do. I think he's so spot on, it's hard to respond to him if you're against what he's saying. But we'll find out as the debates are coming up. Now, the media darling, the guy that got connected at the hip with the Koch brothers is Scott Walker. Walker thought that he could launch himself onto the national scene by being connected to the Koch brothers. And you know what? He was correct. But once he's gotten to the national scene, people have figured out what a piece of garbage this guy is. Break up the big banks? No way. Change the corporate tax structure? No way. Keystone, TPP, he's all for it, okay? Citizens United, hell, that's how we got to the national stage. Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security wants to privatize it. Everything, and attacking unions, attacking workers. What would make somebody think that it's a popular position to take health care away from another American? What would bring someone to the conclusion that attacking a family's income and giving it to the wealthiest Americans would be the best thing for the middle class? The American people, and in Iowa especially, they're figuring out what a complete political phony Scott Walker is. Walker now is trying to position himself as, it's just a matter of time that we get the message out. Listen to this.
When people hear our story about how we've got a plan to wreak havoc on Washington, and when they see that unlike anybody else in this race, we've actually been tested, we're convinced in a state where caucuses are the name of the game and it's about 5 months out, we've got the time to make the grassroots connections and get that message out.
This guy has gotten more publicity than any other candidate. Seriously. If you look at what was unfolding in Wisconsin back in early 2011, no governor across the country got more publicity than Scott Walker. He's been a Fox News darling. Everybody knows where he stands on stuff, and he's gone to Iowa countless times. And for him to push out the idea that it's just a matter of time before people figure out who he is, no, people know who Walker is. And this is why he's in the toilet. John Nicholls back with us, Washington correspondent of the Nation, a resident of Wisconsin. What's wrong here, John? What's happening here?
Well, what's happening for Scott Walker is that he had a unique circumstance in 2011 and 2012 when he was really coming on the national stage, and that was he ran an incredibly deceptive campaign for governor in 2010. He said he was going to focus on job creation. He's all about jobs. Did not talk about knocking down unions or attacking collective bargaining. He did a sneak attack, what he referred to as dropping the bomb. In that sneak attack, he did prevail, right? He got his anti-union legislation, but not without a huge pushback from the people. And then he rallied not Wisconsin donors, but the wealthiest people in America to pour tens of millions of dollars into Wisconsin, to overwhelm Wisconsin with their money and with their power. And they won that period. We must accept that.
Well, they outfunded Barrett in the recall 7-1, and he ran against the recall.
Exactly, and there were strategic mistakes by all sides. Certainly by folks trying to get rid of him.
Okay, so he wins 3 elections in 4 years in Wisconsin, but he is totally failing, now polling at 2%. Why?
And here's why. This is why. He thought that he had a winning issue. He thought attacking unions, ripping into working people the way that he did was somehow really popular. He didn't understand that he got his advantage because of that money, because of that, sneak attacks and a lot of money. Now on the national stage, when he's got, there's lots of time, people can really assess him, people can listen to what he's saying. What they find is he has no answers.
Yeah,
right? His answer is always default to attacking unions. Like somehow that's going to renew the economy or make the world a better place.
He's all hat and no cattle. There's a montage of him just diverting away from questions.
Do you think that being gay is a choice?
I think that's not even an issue for me to be involved in.
You're actually not for ending birthright citizenship?
I'm not taking a position on it one way or the other.
What would you do to address the migrants who are currently fleeing into Europe?
Everybody wants to talk about hypotheticals. There is no such thing as a hypothetical.
That just doesn't fly. That's not what people are looking for. This is why they hate government. They can't get the straight talk.
That's right.
So I don't. And the question now is, can Walker recover?
Well, that little clip you played at the start where he was talking about how everything's going to work out for him in Iowa, that was actually done. It is one of a number of responses he had to make over the weekend to writing not in liberal media, not liberal commentary or something like that, but conservative media talking about the wheels coming off his campaign. And so he's suddenly very busy saying, oh, yeah, I'm still viable. I can still do this. But the polls tell different. And this is a big deal. You're right about Iowa. He has fallen to, 7th, 8th, 9th place, going way down that ladder. I don't know exactly where he stands at the moment, but definitely out of the top tier, even moving out of the second tier. Same happening in New Hampshire. But here's where it gets really bad for him, Ed. South Carolina, fallen down, into the, low single digits. There was a California poll, I believe he's at 2%. This is devastating stuff because in presidential politics, what we have learned is this. On the Republican side, they run you up the flagpole and they see how you flutter in the wind. If it works, they keep you up there. If it doesn't, they haul you down. They don't put you up again. And so for Scott Walker, he's in a bad position.
He is in the political toilet, and he's not going to recover. There's no way. I mean, I think he's polling so poorly right now after all the media attention he's gotten. I don't think he even has a chance of even being on the ticket. When we come back, the Republicans going at it. Trump and Carson now emerging as the frontrunners. We'll talk about that after this.
From the steel mills of Pennsylvania to the auto factories of Michigan to the modern makers movement, manufacturing makes our nation great. I'm Scott Paul, president of the Alliance for American Manufacturing. We bring business and labor together to advocate for policies that everyone can agree on. Together, we can strengthen manufacturing and create good-paying American jobs. Help us keep it made in America.
The Ed Schultz Internet broadcast is brought to you by the Ring of Fire radio show. Listen to the Ring of Fire weekends on radio stations across the country. Get more information and the news of the day at ringofireradio.com.
Communication Workers of America, Alliance for American Manufacturing, BioGreen Clean, and the iSafe team bring you Ed Schultz news and commentary. We are here at WeGotEd.com, RawStory.com, and our friends who do unbelievable work at RingofFireRadio.com. John Nicholls with us. We're talking about the political landscape as we go into the week after Labor Day. And we're into it now. And I think more people are going to be paying attention to it. It appears that the traditional Republicans are in big-time trouble. It's very clear that the ABC News Washington Post poll is giving us a better snapshot of where the country is than anything else that we've seen so far. This may explain the Donald Trump, the Ben Carson, the out of Washington, the non-professional politician. And it was interesting, John, and one of the surveys out there recently shows that people are looking for someone with business experience, someone who has not been in the political arena, that will bring something fresh. This plays right to Trump. It plays right to Carson. The question is, how are these other, quote, already elected or already served Republicans such as Bush, Huckabee, Rubio, Rand Paul, Cruz, how are they going to get back into the race? How is this going to take a miracle at the CNN debate? What's going to reverse all of this, if anything?
There aren't going to be miracles at the CNN debate, my friend. That's bottom line. You should understand that Trump knows how to do this. You may like him, you may dislike him, but he knows how to manage these appearances, and even when he makes a terrible mistake, when he does something that's really horrid, he knows how to surf it out. So it's not like he's collapsing, and Carson has figured out how to be the anti-Trump, so quiet, so mild that it just, he sort of slides through and people...
Well, you know what? It's interesting you say that because Trump kind of picked up on that. He called him low energy. Listen to this.
Well, I'm a deal maker. I'll make great deals for this country. Ben can't do that. Ben's a doctor, and he's not a deal maker. And I'll make great deals for our country, which is very important. And I'll build up our military so that nobody's going to mess with us, and I'll take care of our vets and do things such as that. But Ben is not a deal maker at all, and I don't think would be a very good deal. I don't think that's his natural ability at all.
And he went on to call him low energy.
Yeah.
Nobody. I mean, Trump talks like he's in a bar. Oh, nobody's going to mess with us.
No, Trump doesn't even really have more than a couple words. He said "deal maker" like 10 times in that quote. But here's the bottom line: he knows how to do it. Maybe Carson knows how to counter. So at that point, your core question: what does the establishment Republican, the political careerist, do in a situation like this? Well, something antithetical, sort of counterintuitive has to happen. And that is that all these career politicians, the Scott Walkers and the Bushes and even the Christies, they're going to have to drop away. They're going to have to follow Rick Perry out of this thing until you get some sort of unity around one establishment contender. And that's going to be very hard to do because
Fiorina looks like she's got a little bit of life.
Yeah, but she's also an outsider.
Yeah.
She's also somebody who doesn't have the career politics. And so for the Republican Party, they have a huge problem, and that is to get a half dozen people out of the way so that they can unite around, so the money people, the establishment people, can unite around one alternative to Trump and Carson.
Is that why Karl Rove is so quiet these days?
I think it's exactly why, and I tell you what I think is going to happen, Ed. The only thing that these people understand is money. That's the truth. Most of them. There's a couple who actually, Cruz may have his alternative routes, but most of them, they understand money. And my suspicion is that in this crisis moment for the Republican Party, and understand it as such, a crisis moment, that the elders of the money side of that party, I would suspect, are pulling together some kind of strategy to get behind someone where they can really push it through. And don't underestimate that it might not be the expected player. It might well be somebody like Kasich, who, that's where your magic in a debate might occur. If somebody like him really does well in the second and third debates, you might see the establishment say, hey, we know this guy.
I think, John, looking at the overall 5-6 past years of Republican politics, they have obstructed so much in the House and the Senate, and they've said no to everything. They've stymied anybody with any new ideas to how to deal with the big problems we're facing in this country. And I think that they're stuck with a Trump. They're stuck with a Ben Carson. Ben Carson isn't electable. I don't believe that. And I don't think that he could beat any of the Democratic candidates.
They may have taught their voters to demand this.
Yeah.
I mean, they may have spent so much time beating up on everything that they taught their voters to demand this. Yeah. But if they have, then they have essentially created their own crisis.
All right. Always great to visit. John Nicholls, Washington correspondent of The Nation magazine, here on Ed Schultz News and Commentary. Communication Workers of America, Alliance for American Manufacturing, BioGreen Clean, and the iSave team bring you this production. We're back tomorrow.